This is probably the most famous bassoon solo in all of orchestral music. This is, of course, the opening to Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring, a piece that is not about the beauty of a new season, and it's not about dinosaurs, as Walt Disney would have you believe. It's a story about the inevitable death of a young girl, and that narrative is hidden in the origin of the opening melody.
But is it, though?
The Rite of Spring depicts the rituals of ancient pagan Russia, and it totally revolutionized music in 1913. But that famous opening melody was not written by Stravinsky. It's actually a traditional Lithuanian wedding song called Tu manu seserele, and translates to, "Oh, my sister." And here's a modern recording of that song. And it roughly translates to, "Oh, my sister swan, no matter what trouble, let there be no punishment." I mean, that's not the best wedding toast I've ever heard, but I guess it's nice to know that her sister doesn't want her being punished by her new spouse. Now, the Rite of Spring has nothing to do with a wedding. It's about sacrificing a virgin to celebrate the coming of spring. So in that context, the folk song sounds more like a lament by a sibling who's expecting trouble and fearing this coming sacrifice for her sister, or of her sister. And you could say that the swan can even be thought of or interpreted as representing innocence and purity, until that purity is destroyed by this chord, or this chord, or these chords. I don't think this swan girl is going to make it, you guys. This isn't good.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Here's a quote by Stravinsky. "The opening bassoon melody in The Rite of Spring is the only folk melody in that work. It came from an anthology of Lithuanian folk music I found in Warsaw. And the anthology was a recent publication." Unquote. Now, it turns out that there are other folk melodies in The Rite of Spring that he borrowed here, but he only admits to using the opening melody.
Did you rip that off?
Now, about that publication of Lithuanian folk melodies, the anthology that Stravinsky refers to was published illegally in 1900 during what was called the Lithuanian press ban. This was a time that the Russian Empire, which included modern-day Lithuania at the time, issued a ban on Lithuanian publications in the Latin language. But book smugglers still printed and distributed whatever they wanted because they were opposed to the idea of Russification of ethnic minorities, and presumably this is how Stravinsky got his hands on the folk song anthology.
Breaking the law, breaking the law.
It's unlikely that anyone in the Parisian high society audience for the premiere of The Rite of Spring would have known any of this at the time of the premiere, but they were probably more intrigued with the exoticism of Russia, and probably less so with the historic tensions in the region or the meanings of obscure folk songs.
What does that even mean?
Stravinsky, however, probably would have known that using this melody would have been rebellious to the Russian Empire and a secret sign of solidarity with Lithuanian culture, which the leaders of the Russian Empire did not like at the time. And this was 1913, which was smack dab in the middle of two Russian revolutions and the eve of the First World War. There was a lot of tension in Russia at the time, so it would make sense if Stravinsky wanted to keep the origin of this melody to himself.
It's a secret.
Of course, I could be wrong about some of this, but I hope I'm not, because it makes this piece even more interesting than it already is. And it makes for a nice Easter egg 100 years later.
Yeah. Who this? This piece. Yo, who this? Yo, who this? Who this?